So I've been paying attention to how people have been reacting to the NBA playoffs. And the one thing that I can say is that something that I've said all throughout the season to a lot of different people is playing out the way that I figured it would, which is that when you add stakes to games, fans react because players react accordingly to what those stakes are. And basically, what I'm saying is that during the regular season, games don't really matter. Wins and losses are not necessarily the priority for teams because they're just trying to make it through the regular season to get to the playoffs. All these teams really want to do is win enough to get there. And even if they don't get there, they still get something in the form of a lottery pick. Somebody was joking on Twitter about the Phoenix Suns season, and basically what they said was everybody gets something. Everybody gets in the playoffs, they get a lottery pick, or they're in the play-in. The Phoenix Suns got none of that. And while I understand it was kind of a joke about the Phoenix Suns season, it also kind of exposed the problem with the NBA regular season, is that a lot of teams are just trying to manage their players, get through the season to get to the postseason. And when you have that situation in the NBA, I don't think you're always going to get the best out of players. I don't think you're going to get the best out of coaches. And I think the games, when you watch them, they're going to be played with a sort of apathy that leads fans to be a little frustrated when they watch, because as fans, we want to see our teams win. We want to see our teams care. And I think sometimes NBA games come across like players don't care. And it can be frustrating at times, which is why I think people complain. But when you get to the playoffs and you have to win 4 games before the other team does, or you're going home, it changes everything. And so now all of a sudden, players are playing with a lot more focus. Their attention to detail is a lot better. The physicality is also present way more than it is during the regular season, because I think players are trying to get any little edge to try and win. And if physicality is one thing that they can do to try and win a game, I think that they'll obviously use it. There's some people who disagree and say that's not basketball. I disagree completely, because I think when your basketball's competition, it's a sport, it's competition. And when you're trying to win in a competition, you're trying to do anything you can to try and get that edge on your opponent. So physicality is definitely part of basketball and how you play it. People got to counter it, figure out a way to still do what they need to do, even if teams are playing physical. So it becomes part of the game. And I think during the regular season, you don't see it because, like I said, teams are trying to manage players. They're not trying to get players hurt before the playoffs. So you don't really see that level of intensity. You don't see as many skirmishes. You don't see as many situations where teams are going back and forth at each other. You just don't see that. Another thing that you don't see is you don't always see during the regular season players playing all the time, and you don't see them always playing a lot of minutes during the regular season. One of the things as a Knicks fan that I see a lot of people complain about is Tom Thibodeau playing his starters a lot of minutes. And one of the points that I've said is that the starters are the best players on the team. So you want to see them play those minutes because they give you the best chance to win. And back in the day, you probably had a lot of players that didn't want to sit in favor of a bench player. Nowadays, it's not quite the case because, like I said, players are trying to manage their bodies through the course of the regular season to get to the postseason. But in the playoffs, it changes, and everybody plays who they think will give them the best shot to win. If you look at the Lakers, J.J. Redick played his best players the whole entire second half in a game that they lost. But he thought that's what gave them the best chance to win. So he played them. And I don't see a lot of people really complaining about that. I don't think that they should, because if he thinks that those are the players that give him the best chance, then you do that. And that's what the playoffs brings out in a lot of teams. And I just feel in general, because I've been saying this for so long, that for all the complaints that we hear about the NBA, all of those that they shoot too many threes, there's no defense, load management, all this and that, all those complaints go away during the postseason. I think playoff basketball, I think basketball is a great sport in general. But I think when there are high stakes involved in any game, it makes it better. And so to me, I almost wish that they could replicate some of playoff basketball during the regular season. I think that's what they've tried to do with the in-season tournament, but there's really not a big enough prize, I think, to get people to go truly out of their way for it. I think they want to win the championship, so once they get there, they'll give it their all. But I think if they do that, then you'll see other games where they'll try to limit minutes and things of that nature. So the playoffs are the one time of the year where you really see everything in the NBA that we love about basketball. And I feel like if the NBA were to replicate that during the regular season, I don't think anybody would ever complain about it.